The rain in New York City didn't wash things clean. It just made the dirt stick to everything. It was a cold, nasty night in Manhattan, the kind where the wind cut right through your clothes like a knife. Beek Do-hyun stood under the heated awning of the Obsidian Club, waiting for his valet. He didn't feel the cold, though. He was too angry. He checked his gold watch. It was late. His new fiancée, Jae-yoon, was hanging onto his arm like a heavy purse she didn't want to lose. She was smiling at the cameras flashing from behind the velvet ropes. She loved this. The attention, the money, the power that came with being engaged to the heir of the Beek syndicate. Do-hyun, look, Jae-yoon whispered, squeezing his bicep. The press loves us. My father will be so happy. Do-hyun didn't look. He lit a cigarette, the flame flaring up for a second against the gray night. Get in the car when it comes, he said. His voice was flat. He didn't care about her father. He didn't care about the marriage alliance. It was just business. A deal to make his family stronger. He had shut his heart off 3 years ago, the day he found his apartment empty and a note on the table. He took a long drag of smoke and looked across the street. The streetlights flickered on the wet pavement. It was messy over there. Puddles of black water, trash piled up near the alley entrance. And right on the corner, under a torn blue tarp, someone was trying to sell food. It was pathetic. A small grill, some plastic containers, and a woman bundled up in a coat that was 3 sizes too big for her. The wind whipped the tarp, almost blowing it away. She was fighting to keep it down with one hand while flipping meat with the other. Disgusting, Jae-yoon wrinkled her nose. Why do they let people like that sell food right across from a 5-star club? It ruins the view. Do-hyun was about to look away. He didn't care about street rats. But then a group of 3 loud guys walked past the stall. They were drunk, stumbling and laughing. One of them, a big guy in a leather jacket, kicked one of the plastic stools in front of the woman's stall. The stool clattered into the street. The woman flinched. She kept her head down, trying to ignore them. But the guy didn't leave. He grabbed a container of food off the grill. Hey, you gonna charge me for this? The guy yelled, spitting food out. Tastes like garbage. Do-hyun watched, bored. This happened every day in the city. The strong ate the weak. It wasn't his problem. Then the woman looked up. She yelled something back at the guy. She tried to grab the food container from his hand. The hood of her coat fell back. The streetlight hit her face. Do-hyun froze. The cigarette fell from his fingers and hissed on the wet ground. It wasn't just some random woman. The dark skin, the high cheekbones, the eyes that used to look at him like he was the only man in the world. Ngozi. His heart stopped. Then it started beating so hard it hurt his chest. It couldn't be her. She was gone. She had taken the money his father gave her and ran. That's what his father said. She was living the good life in Europe somewhere. But the woman across the street wasn't living the good life. She looked thin, tired, broken. The drunk guy grabbed her arm. She screamed. And then from behind the small grill, 3 little figures popped up. 3 small children, maybe 2 or 3 years old. They were screaming too. They rushed forward, hitting the big man's legs with their tiny fists. Do-hyun squinted. The rain blurred his vision, but he saw them. 3 of them, all with the same curly hair, all with the same fierce eyes. His eyes. The drunk guy laughed and shoved one of the kids. The child fell hard into a puddle. Ngozi screamed, a sound so raw it cut through the noise of the traffic. She threw herself over the child to protect him as the man raised his fist. Pause. Wait right there. Before we find out if Do-hyun saves them or walks away, I have a question for you. Where are you listening from right now? Is it raining there too? Let me know in the comments, and while you're at it, rate this story 1 to 10 so far. Now, listen to me closely. Look at that scene. A mother protecting her babies in the freezing rain while a monster raises his fist. Do-hyun is the only one who can stop it. If you don't hit that subscribe button for timeless K-love right now, you're turning your back on Ngozi just like the rest of the world. Don't let her fight this alone. Subscribe, turn on the bell, and let's see if the Mafia Heir has a soul left. Do-hyun didn't think. He didn't breathe. The carefully built walls around his life just shattered. Get the car, Jae-yoon said, checking her phone. Do-hyun, where are you going? You'll get your suit wet. He stepped out from under the awning. The rain hit him instantly, soaking his expensive jacket, plastering his hair to his forehead. He walked right into traffic. A taxi honked and swerved, the driver yelling curses, but Do-hyun didn't even blink. He marched across the 4 lanes of 7th Avenue like he owned the asphalt. His eyes were locked on the man raising his fist. Across the street, Ngozi curled around her son on the wet ground. She squeezed her eyes shut, waiting for the hit. She had dealt with men like this before. You just took the hit, protected the kids, and prayed they got bored and left. Please, she whispered into the wet pavement, Just leave us alone." "You got a big mouth, lady," the drunk man slurred. "I should teach you a lesson." He swung his fist down, but it never landed. A hand caught his wrist in midair. The grip was like steel. The drunk man blinked, confused. He looked up and saw a man in a soaking wet, tailored black suit standing over him. The man's face was pale, his eyes pitch black and burning with a rage that felt colder than the rain. "Let go of me, rich boy," the drunk guy sneered, trying to yank his hand back. "This ain't your business." Do-hyun didn't speak. He twisted the man's wrist. There was a loud snap, like a dry branch breaking. The drunk guy howled in pain, dropping to his knees. His two friends stepped forward, looking for a fight, but Do-hyun moved with a speed they couldn't track. He kicked the first one in the knee, shattering the bone, and then drove his elbow into the second one's jaw. It was over in 3 seconds. 3 men on the ground, groaning and bleeding in the rain. Do-hyun fixed his cuffs. He looked down at the man with the broken wrist. "If I ever see you on this street again," Do-hyun said, his voice quiet and deadly, "I won't break your hand. I'll break your neck." The men scrambled up, slipping on the wet sidewalk, and ran into the darkness, holding their injuries. Silence fell over the street corner, heavy and thick. The only sound was the rain hitting the blue tarp. Do-hyun stood there, his chest heaving. He slowly turned around. Ngozi was still on the ground, clutching the crying child. The other 2 children, a boy and a girl, were clinging to her back, their big eyes wide with terror. They stared up at Do-hyun. Do-hyun felt like someone had punched him in the gut. Up close, there was no denying it. The nose, the shape of the eyes, the way they frowned. They were mini versions of him. Ngozi slowly lifted her head. She wiped mud off the child's cheek and looked up to thank the stranger. Her eyes locked with his. The color drained from her face. She looked like she had seen a ghost. Her lips trembled. "Do-hyun," she whispered. The name sounded broken coming from her throat. Do-hyun stared at her. She was thin, too thin. Her hands were rough, covered in small burns from the grill. Her coat was worn out. This was the woman he thought had betrayed him for millions of dollars. This was the woman his father said was living in luxury. "What is this?" Do-hyun asked. His voice was rough. He pointed a shaking finger at the 3 children huddled around her. "Ngozi, what is this?" Ngozi scrambled backward, pulling the kids with her. She looked terrified of him. "Go away," she said, her voice shaking. "Please, just go away. We don't want anything from you." "Answer me," Do-hyun roared. The kids flinched and started crying louder. Do-hyun winced at the sound. He didn't mean to scare them. He took a breath, trying to control the shaking in his hands. "You left. You took the money and you left. Why are you here, selling food in the rain?" Ngozi stood up slowly. She was shaking, but she put herself between him and the children. She looked like a cornered animal protecting her young. "I didn't take any money," she said, tears mixing with the rain on her face. "I didn't take a dime, Do-hyun, your father. He told me if I didn't leave, he would kill you. He said I was ruining your future, so I left to save you." Do-hyun felt the world tilt. "What?" And then, she looked down at the 3 crying faces. "I found out I wasn't alone, but I couldn't come back. I couldn't risk your life, so I did what I had to do." "Do-hyun," a shrill voice cut through the moment. Do-hyun didn't turn, but he knew who it was. Jae-yoon was standing on the other side of the street under an umbrella held by the valet. "Do-hyun, get back here," Jae-yoon yelled. "My father is calling. We have to go. Stop talking to that beggar." Ngozi looked past Do-hyun at the woman in the expensive dress. She looked at the massive diamond ring on Jae-yoon's finger. A look of pure pain crossed Ngozi's face. She lowered her head. "Go back to her, Do-hyun," Ngozi said quietly. She started packing up her stall with frantic, shaking hands. "You have your life, I have mine. Just pretend you didn't see us." She picked up a heavy crate of supplies. She was struggling. One of the kids tugged on her coat. "Mama hungry," the little girl whined. "Hush, baby, we're going home," Ngozi said, her voice cracking. Do-hyun looked at his fiancée across the street. That was his future. Power, safety, the Beak Empire. Then he looked at Ngozi. She was struggling to carry the crate and hold the child's hand at the same time. She was soaked to the bone. She was the woman he had loved more than anything. And those children, those were his blood. He felt a fire start in his belly. It burned away the cold. It burned away the logic. "No," Do-hyun said. He stepped forward and grabbed the crate from Ngozi's hands. It was heavy, greasy. He didn't care. "Do-hyun," Ngozi looked at him, confused. "You're not going anywhere," he said. He tossed the crate into the back of the food stall. Then he took off his suit jacket. It was wet, but it was warm. He wrapped it around Ngozi's shoulders. She was so small. "Pick them up," Do-hyun commanded, nodding at the kids. "What?" "Pick up the children. We are leaving." "Leaving to where?" Ngozi asked, panic rising in her voice. Do-hyun, you can't be seen with us, your father. To hell with my father, Do-hyun growled. He bent down and scooped up the boy who had fallen in the puddle. The boy stopped crying and looked at Do-hyun with wide, curious eyes. He had Do-hyun's nose. The resemblance was terrifying. Do-hyun held the boy close. He felt a small hand grab his shirt collar. He turned to the street. Jae-yoon was screaming now, waving her arms. His bodyguards were running across the street toward them. Boss, the head of security, a man named Kang, panted as he reached them. You need to come back. The chairman is on the phone. This looks bad. You can't be seen with these people. Do-hyun looked at Kang. Then he looked at Jae-yoon. Then he looked at the woman and children shivering in the rain. Kang, Do-hyun said calmly, bring the car around. Sir, Miss Jae-yoon is waiting for. I said bring the car, Do-hyun yelled. The power in his voice made the security guard flinch. And tell Jae-yoon she can take a taxi. The engagement is off, Ngozi gasped. Do-hyun, no, you can't. You'll lose everything. Do-hyun looked at her. He reached out and touched her wet cheek. I already lost everything 3 years ago, he said softly. I'm just taking it back. A black SUV pulled up to the curb. Kang opened the door looking nervous. Do-hyun ushered Ngozi and the other 2 children inside. The leather seats were warm and dry. The kids scrambled in, eyes wide at the luxury. Do-hyun climbed in last, still holding his son. He slammed the door shut, shutting out the rain, the screaming fiancé, and the life he was supposed to live. Drive, Do-hyun said. Where to, sir? The driver asked. My penthouse, Do-hyun said. He looked at Ngozi. She was huddled in the corner, staring at him like he was a stranger and a savior all at once. We have a lot to talk about. As the car pulled away, Do-hyun saw Jae-yoon standing in the rain, screaming into her phone. He knew what was coming. His father would be furious. The syndicate would be in chaos. There would be a war. He looked down at the little boy sleeping against his chest. Let them come, he thought. Let them all come. The elevator right up to the 45th floor was silent. The only sound was the hum of the machine and the dripping of water from their clothes onto the marble floor. Do-hyun stood near the doors, his back stiff. He didn't look at them. He couldn't. If he looked at the 3 small children huddled against Ngozi's legs, he might punch the metal wall until his knuckles shattered. The doors slid open. Out, Do-hyun said. Ngozi hesitated. She held the hands of the 2 walking children so tight her knuckles were white. She stepped out onto the plush gray carpet of the penthouse. It was like stepping onto a cloud. The place was massive. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the whole city of New York glowing in the rain. The furniture was black leather and chrome. There were no pictures, no flowers, no life. It looked like a museum for a lonely king. Don't touch anything, Ngozi whispered to the kids. Her voice was trembling. Do-hyun turned around. He saw the way she looked at the room, like she was waiting for a trap to spring. Stop it, he said. Ngozi flinched. Stop what? Stop acting like you're in danger. You're in my house. Do-hyun walked over to a wall panel and pressed a button. The lights dimmed, making the city outside look brighter. Nobody gets in here unless I let them. You're safe. Safe, Ngozi let out a short, dry laugh. It sounded jagged. Do-hyun, you just kidnapped us from the street. Your fiancé is probably calling the police. Your father is probably sending hitmen. We are not safe. I didn't kidnap you. I saved you. I didn't ask to be saved, Ngozi shouted. The sudden noise made the baby in Do-hyun's arms wake up. The little boy squirmed, looking around with confused, sleepy eyes. He looked at Do-hyun. Do-hyun froze. The boy reached out a tiny, dirty hand and touched Do-hyun's chin. Dada, the boy mumbled. The air left the room. Ngozi gasped. She stepped forward and snatched the boy from Do-hyun's arms. She held him tight against her chest, stepping back as if Do-hyun had burned her. Don't, she hissed. Don't you dare play father now. Do-hyun stared at his empty arms. The warmth of the child was gone, replaced by the chill of the air conditioning. Anger flared in his chest, hot and heavy. Play father. Do-hyun stepped closer. He towered over her. They are mine, Ngozi. Look at them. They have my face. They have my blood. Did you think I wouldn't notice? I hoped you wouldn't, she shot back. She was crying now, tears cutting tracks through the grime on her face. I hoped you would just drive by in your expensive car and never look back. That's what you do, right? You move on, you marry rich girls, you forget about the maid's daughter. I never forgot you, Do-hyun roared. The other 2 children started to cry again. Do-hyun clenched his jaw. He ran a hand through his wet hair. This was a mess. He was shouting at a terrified woman and 3 toddlers. He was the dragon of the Beak family. He was supposed to be cold, calculated. He took a deep breath. Kang, Do-hyun called out. The security guard appeared from the hallway, looking nervous. Yes, boss. Get the guest room ready, the big one, and get food, anything kids eat, pizza, chicken, I don't care, just get a lot of it. Yes, sir. Kang hurried away. Do-hyun looked back at Ngozi. She was shivering. Her coat was soaked through. Go to the bathroom, he said, pointing down the hall. There's a shower, hot water. Use some dry clothes. We can't stay, Ngozi said weakly. Do-hyun, please, if your father finds out. Go, shower. Do-hyun's voice was hard. That is an order. Ngozi bit her lip. She looked at the shivering kids. She knew she had no choice. She nodded once and walked down the hall, dragging her brood with her. 20 minutes later, the penthouse smelled like expensive soap and pepperoni pizza. Do-hyun sat on the black leather sofa, a glass of whiskey in his hand. He watched them eat. Ngozi had washed the dirt off the kids. They were wearing his t-shirts, which looked like dresses on them. They sat on the expensive rug, devouring the pizza slices Kang had brought. They ate like they hadn't seen food in days. Maybe they hadn't. The little girl Ngozi called her Kioma looked up at Do-hyun. She had sauce on her cheek. She held up a crust. Good, she said simply. Do-hyun felt a lump in his throat. He nodded. Eat more. Ngozi sat on the edge of the sofa, far away from him. She wore one of his white dress shirts and a pair of sweatpants he used for the gym. Her hair was damp, curling around her face. She looked younger now that the street grime was gone, but she also looked more tired. There were dark circles under her eyes that no amount of scrubbing could fix. She wasn't eating. She was just watching him, her eyes darting to the door every few seconds. Why didn't you tell me? Do-hyun asked. He didn't look at her. He stared at the amber liquid in his glass. Tell you what? Ngozi asked softly. About the pregnancy before you left. I didn't know, she said. I found out a week after I arrived in Paris. I was sick. I thought it was just heartbreak. She looked down at her hands. They were rough, calloused. When the doctor told me it was triplets, I laughed. I thought it was a cosmic joke. 3 of you. You should have called, Do-hyun said. I would have come. No, Ngozi shook her head. You wouldn't have. Your father made sure of that. Do-hyun turned to face her. Tell me exactly what he said, word for word. Ngozi took a breath. She wrapped her arms around herself. He came to the apartment while you were at the casino meeting, she began. He had men with him. He told me that a maid's daughter had no business with the future king of the Beak Syndicate. He said I was a distraction, a weakness. Do-hyun's grip on the glass tightened. I told him I loved you, Ngozi whispered. I told him I didn't care about the money. He laughed. He put a gun on the table. Not for me, for you. Do-hyun froze. He said that if I didn't leave that day, if I didn't make you hate me, he would have his own men stage an accident. He said he would rather have a dead son than a weak one. Ngozi looked up, her eyes burning. He showed me the plan, Do-hyun. He had the car rigged. He was going to kill you if I stayed, so I took the money. I wrote that note, and I left. Glass shattered. Do-hyun hadn't realized he was squeezing the whiskey glass until it exploded in his hand. Shards of crystal dug into his palm. Blood mixed with the whiskey, dripping onto the pristine floor. He threatened to kill me, Do-hyun asked. His voice was a low growl. Yes, his own son. Power is the only thing he loves, Do-hyun, you know that. Do-hyun looked at his bleeding hand. He didn't feel the pain. He only felt the fire. For 3 years, he had hated Ngozi. He had hated her for taking the buyout. He had hated her for leaving him alone in the cold. He had turned himself into a monster to prove he didn't need her. And all this time, she had been protecting him. She had been living in poverty, raising 3 children on the street just to keep him alive. He stood up. The blood dripped from his hand, leaving a trail as he walked toward her. Ngozi flinched, pulling her legs up. Do-hyun, your hand. He didn't care about the hand. He fell to his knees in front of her. The great beak Do-hyun, the man who made CEOs tremble, knelt on the floor in front of a woman in oversized sweatpants. He reached out with his good hand and cupped her face. I am going to kill him, Do-hyun said. It wasn't a scream. It was a promise, a fact, like saying the sun would rise. I am going to burn his whole world down. Don't, Ngozi begged. She put her hand over his. Her skin was warm. He's too strong. He has the politicians, the police. You can't fight him. Just let us go. We'll disappear. We'll go to another state. You can marry Jae-yoon and be safe. Safe, Do-hyun laughed. It was a dark, scary sound. I don't want to be safe, not without you. He leaned in. His forehead rested against hers. He could smell her rain and cheap soap and the scent that had haunted his dreams for 1,000 nights. You are not going anywhere, he whispered. You, the children, you stay here. This is your home now. He will come for us, Ngozi said, tears leaking from her eyes. Let him come. Do-hyun pulled back to look at her. I'm not the same boy you left, Ngozi. I'm not the dutiful son anymore. I run the streets. I control the ports. If he wants a war, I'll give him a war. Ngozi looked at him, searching his eyes. She saw the darkness there, but she also saw the love. The same love that had made him buy her flowers from the bodega when they were teenagers. Do-hyun, she started. But the moment shattered. A loud buzzing noise filled the room. It was the intercom by the door. Kang's voice came through the speaker. "Boss, you have a visitor." Do-hyun stood up, his face hardening instantly. "Who is it?" "It's Miss Jae-yoon, sir, and—" "She brought her father and yours," Ngozi gasped. She scrambled off the sofa, grabbing the children. "Hide," she whispered to them. "Get behind the sofa. Now." The triplets, sensing the fear, obeyed instantly. They crawled behind the large leather couch, silent as mice. Do-hyun looked at Ngozi. "Take them to the bedroom, lock the door, do not open it unless you hear my voice." "What are you going to do?" Ngozi asked, her eyes wide with terror. "I'm going to introduce my family," Do-hyun said grimly. "Go." Ngozi ran down the hall with the children. Do-hyun waited until he heard the click of the lock. Then he grabbed a napkin and wrapped his bleeding hand. He didn't clean it. He wanted them to see the blood. He walked to the door and pressed the release button. The heavy oak doors swung open. 3 people stood there. Jae-yoon looked like a drowned rat. Her makeup was running, her dress ruined. She looked furious. Next to her was her father, Mr. Choi. He was a small man but powerful. He owned half the real estate in Manhattan. And behind them, leaning on a cane with a silver dragon head, was Chairman Beek, Do-hyun's father. The old man looked calm. He wore a gray suit that cost more than most people made in a lifetime. His eyes were cold, dead things. "You caused quite a scene, son," Chairman Beek said. His voice was like dry leaves scraping on concrete. "Get out," Do-hyun said. He didn't move aside to let them in. "Excuse me," Jae-yoon screeched. "You left me in the rain, you humiliated me. Do you know how many photographers were there?" "I don't care," Do-hyun said. "We had a deal." Mr. Choi stepped forward, his face red. "This marriage merges our territories. You don't just walk away from $1 billion because you saw some street trash." Do-hyun stepped forward. He got right in Mr. Choi's face. "Watch your mouth. If you call her trash again, you won't have a tongue to speak with." Mr. Choi stepped back, stunned by the violence in Do-hyun's eyes. Chairman Beek chuckled. He tapped his cane on the floor. "So, she's here then, the girl." "She's not a girl," Do-hyun said, looking at his father. "She's the mother of my children." Silence filled the hallway. Jae-yoon's jaw dropped. "Children, what are you talking about?" "Triplets," Do-hyun said, a twisted smile appearing on his face. "3 of them, 3 heirs, which means I don't need your marriage alliance to secure my legacy, father. I already have one." Chairman Beek's eyes narrowed. The calm mask slipped for a second. "Bastard children born in a gutter are not heirs. They are mistakes. Mistakes that can be corrected." The threat hung in the air, heavy and poisonous. Do-hyun felt the rage boil over. He grabbed the front of his father's suit and shoved the old man against the wall. "Do-hyun!" Mr. Choi yelled. The bodyguards behind the chairman reached for their guns. "Don't!" Do-hyun barked at them. "You draw on me and you all die." He looked back at his father. "You threatened her 3 years ago. You told her you'd kill me. That's the only reason she left." Chairman Beek didn't look scared. He looked disappointed. "I did what was necessary. You were soft. You needed to be hardened." "Well, congratulations," Do-hyun whispered, his face inches from his father's. "I'm hard now. I'm exactly what you made me. And I am telling you this, if you go near her or those kids, I will kill you. I will dismantle your empire brick by brick and bury you under it." He shoved the old man away. Chairman Beek straightened his jacket. He looked at Do-hyun with a new expression. It wasn't fear, it was respect. "Be calculation. You choose a whore over your family?" the chairman asked. "She is my family," Do-hyun said. You're just the man who pays my bills, and I think I'm ready to pay my own." He looked at Jae-yoon. "The wedding is off, keep the ring, pawn it, I don't care." He slammed the door in their faces. Do-hyun leaned his forehead against the heavy wood. He was shaking. Adrenaline pumped through his veins. He had done it. He had declared war on the most dangerous man in the city. He turned around. Ngozi was standing at the end of the hallway. She had opened the door a crack. She had heard everything. She walked toward him slowly. The oversized shirt swished around her legs. "You shouldn't have done that," she said softly. "I had to. He's going to come back with an army. Then we'll be ready." Do-hyun walked to her. He took her hands. "I lost 3 years with you. I am not losing another second." He pulled her close. For a moment, she resisted, her body stiff. But then the exhaustion and the fear and the old love took over. She melted into him. She buried her face in his chest and sobbed. Do-hyun held her. He smelled the soap on her skin. He felt her tears soaking his shirt. "I've got you," he whispered into her hair. "I've got you." But even as he held her, his mind was racing. He needed weapons. He needed men. He needed money that his father couldn't touch. He needed to call his uncle in Chicago, the one man his father feared. "Ngozi," he said, pulling back slightly. "Pack a bag, just the essentials. Why, you said we were safe here. We were safe for tonight, but tomorrow." Do-hyun looked at the window. The rain was still falling, washing the city in gray. "Tomorrow the wolves come. We need to be gone before sunrise." "Where are we going?" "To the one place they won't look," Do-hyun said. "We're going to the Bronx, to the old safe house." Ngozi looked at him. "The one where we had our first date?" "The very same." It was a crazy plan. The heir of the Beak syndicate hiding out in a rundown apartment in the Bronx. But it was the only move he had left. "Go," he said. "Get the kids." As Ngozi ran to get the children, Do-hyun went to his safe hidden behind a wall panel. He spun the dial and opened it. Inside were stacks of cash, fake passports, and 2 black Glock 19 pistols. He tucked the guns into his waistband. He shoved the cash into a duffel bag. He looked at his reflection in the dark window. Looked like a man on the edge. "Game on, old man," he whispered. The service elevator smelled like bleach and old garbage. It rattled as it went down, shaking the metal walls. Do-hyun stood in front of Ngozi and the stroller he had found in the closet. He held a black duffel bag in one hand. His other hand was near the gun tucked in his belt. "Why are we taking the trash elevator?" Ngozi whispered. She was holding the little girl, Kioma. The 2 boys were squeezed into the single stroller. "Because the lobby is a trap," Do-hyun said. His eyes were glued to the floor numbers lighting up. 40, 30, 20. "My father doesn't play fair. He'll have men waiting at the front door with cameras and cops. He wants to shame me. He wants to arrest me." "Arrest you for what?" "For anything, kidnapping, assault. He owns the police commissioner." The elevator dinged at the basement level, B2. The garage. Do-hyun turned to her. His face was deadly serious. "Listen to me. When these doors open, you stay behind me. If I tell you to run, you run to the black sedan in spot 45. Do not look back, do not stop. Do you understand?" Ngozi nodded. She pulled Kioma closer. Her heart was hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. The doors slid open. The garage was dark, lit only by buzzing fluorescent lights. It was quiet, too quiet. Do-hyun stepped out first. He scanned the concrete pillars. Shadows stretched long on the ground. He took 3 steps. "Mr. Beak," the voice echoed from the darkness. Do-hyun stopped. 3 men stepped out from behind a concrete pillar. They were big. They wore cheap suits that didn't fit right, hired muscle. Not his father's elite guard, but street thugs paid to break legs. "Who are you?" Do-hyun asked. His voice was calm, but his hand moved slowly to his waist. "Your father called," the middle one said. He was holding a tire iron. "He said you're not feeling well. He wants us to escort you to a private hospital." "I bet he does," Do-hyun muttered. "And the woman?" "She stays here," the man grinned. It was a nasty look. "We have special instructions for her." Do-hyun didn't wait for him to finish the sentence. "Close your eyes," Do-hyun yelled at the kids. He moved. He was a blur of black suit and violence. He didn't pull the gun. A gun was too loud. It would bring the cops. He closed the distance to the man with the tire iron in a second. The man swung the metal bar, aiming for Do-hyun's head. Do-hyun ducked. He could feel the wind of the weapon passing over his hair. He punched the man in the throat. The man gagged and dropped the iron. Do-hyun grabbed his head and slammed it into the concrete pillar. There was a sickening thud. The man slid to the ground and didn't move. The other 2 rushed him. One had a knife. Ngozi screamed. "Do-hyun, watch out!" "Pause, stop everything. I know your heart is racing right now. Mine is too. Do-hyun is fighting 3 guys in a dark basement while his babies are watching. This is life or death. Before we see if he survives that knife, tell me, where in the world are you watching this from? Are you safe in your bed? Or are you sneaking a watch at work? Let me know in the comments and rate Do-hyun's fighting skills 1 to 10. Now, look at me. This man is fighting for his life. He is fighting for Ngozi. If you don't hit that subscribe button for Timeless K-Love right now, you are basically handing that knife to the bad guy yourself. Do you want Kioma to grow up without a father? Do you? I didn't think so. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's help Do-hyun win this fight. The knife slashed through the air. It caught the sleeve of Do-hyun's jacket, slicing the fabric. Do-hyun didn't flinch. He grabbed the attacker's wrist. He twisted it hard, forcing the blade to point back at the man. With a grunt of effort, Do-hyun drove his knee into the man's stomach. The air rushed out of the attacker's lungs. Do-hyun shoved him backward, sending him crashing into a parked BMW. The car alarm started blaring, a loud whoop-whoop-whoop that filled the garage. The 3rd man hesitated. He looked at his 2 friends on the ground. Then he looked at Do-hyun. Do-hyun stood there, breathing hard. He fixed his torn cuff. He looked like a demon rising from hell. Run, Do-hyun growled. The third man didn't need to be told twice. He turned and sprinted toward the exit ramp. Get in the car! Do-hyun shouted at Ngozi over the noise of the car alarm. He ran to spot 45. It was an old, nondescript gray sedan, not the luxury SUV he usually used. This was one of his ghost cars, registered to a fake name, untraceable. He unlocked it. Ngozi threw the stroller into the trunk and buckled the kids into the back seat as fast as she could. Her hands were shaking so bad she could barely work the straps. "Mama, loud!" the boy cried, covering his ears against the alarm. "It's okay, baby, we're going," Ngozi said, her voice trembling. She jumped into the passenger seat. Do-hyun was already behind the wheel. He started the engine, threw it into reverse, and tires screeched on the concrete. They sped up the ramp, bursting out into the rainy New York night. Do-hyun didn't slow down. He wove through traffic, running red lights, checking the rearview mirror every 2 seconds. Did you kill them?" Ngozi asked. She was gripping the door handle, staring at him. "No," Do-hyun said tightly. "But they won't be walking for a few months." He took a sharp left turn, heading toward the bridge. The city lights smeared across the wet windshield. "Where are we really going, Do-hyun?" Ngozi asked. "You said the Bronx, but where?" 1520 Sedgwick Avenue, Do-hyun said. Ngozi gasped. She turned to look at him. "The old apartment, that place was condemned years ago." "I bought the building," Do-hyun said. "Through a shell company, I kept it empty just in case." "In case of what?" "In case I ever found you," he said softly. Ngozi fell silent. She looked out the window. The skyline of Manhattan was fading behind them, replaced by the darker, grittier streets of the outer boroughs. She looked at the man driving. He had a torn suit, a bleeding hand, and a look of pure exhaustion on his face. But he was here. He had come for her. The drive took 40 minutes. The rain turned into a drizzle. They pulled up to a brick building on a quiet street in the Bronx. It looked abandoned. The windows were dark. There was graffiti on the front door. "It looks safe," Ngozi said sarcastically. "If you're a rat." "It's secure," Do-hyun said. "Reinforced doors, bulletproof glass on the lower floors, and no doorman to snitch on us." He killed the engine. Silence filled the car. The kids were asleep again in the back, worn out by the fear and the food. Do-hyun didn't move to get out. He gripped the steering wheel. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Ngozi looked at him. "For what?" "For everything. For the last 3 years. For tonight, for making you run." He turned to look at her. His dark eyes were full of pain. "I wanted to give you the world, Ngozi. Instead, I'm giving you a hideout in the Bronx." Ngozi reached out. She touched his arm. "You gave me my life back, Do-hyun. You saved the kids. That is enough." Do-hyun leaned into her touch. For a second, he looked vulnerable. "I will fix this. I promise. I will take back what is mine, and I will build a fortress where no one can ever touch you again." "First," Ngozi said, unbuckling her seatbelt, "let's get the kids inside before they wake up and realize we are sleeping in a haunted house." Do-hyun let out a small chuckle. It was the first time he had smiled in hours. The apartment was on the 4th floor. It was dusty, and the air smelled stale, but the electricity worked. Do-hyun flipped the switch, and a single bulb illuminated the living room. It was exactly as she remembered it. The beige sofa with the coffee stain. The small wooden table where they used to eat takeout noodles. The poster of the jazz band on the wall. Do-hyun had kept it exactly the same. It was a time capsule of the only time in his life he had been happy. "The heater works," Do-hyun said, fiddling with the thermostat. "It'll warm up in a minute." Ngozi carried the sleeping Kioma into the bedroom. There was only one bed, a queen-sized mattress on a simple frame. She laid the girl down and went back for the boys. Do-hyun was already carrying them, one on each shoulder. He looked awkward. He held them like they were bombs that might go off, but he was gentle. He laid them down next to their sister and pulled the old quilt over them. He stood there for a long time just watching them sleep. "What are their names?" Do-hyun asked quietly. "The girl is Kioma," Ngozi whispered. "The one with the curly hair is Do-hyun, and the one who looks exactly like you, that is Minho." Do-hyun and Minho. Do-hyun tested the names on his tongue, Korean names. "You gave them Korean names." "I wanted them to know who they were," Ngozi said, "even if they never met you." Do-hyun felt a tear slide down his cheek. He wiped it away angrily. He turned and walked out of the room, closing the door softly. In the living room, he stripped off his ruined jacket and threw it on the floor. He unbuttoned his shirt. His chest was bruised from the fight, a dark purple mark blooming over his ribs. And his hand. The cut from the glass was deep and ugly. It had started bleeding again. "Sit," Ngozi commanded. She came out of the kitchen with a first aid kit. Of course, the kit was there. She had bought it 5 years ago. Do-hyun sat on the sofa. Ngozi knelt on the floor between his legs. She took his hand. She cleaned the blood with alcohol. Do-hyun hissed in pain but didn't pull away. "You're an idiot," Ngozi said, wrapping gauze around his palm. "Breaking a glass with your bare hand." So dramatic. "I was mad," Do-hyun defended himself. "You were always dramatic, even in college. Oh, Ngozi, if you don't go to the dance with me, I will die of sorrow," she mimicked his voice. Do-hyun laughed. It was a real laugh this time. "It worked, didn't it?" "Yes," she smiled. She taped the bandage shut. She looked up at him. Her face was close to his. The humor faded from her eyes, replaced by something heavier. "Thank you for standing up to him." "He called you trash," Do-hyun said, his voice dropping low. He reached out with his other hand and touched her face. "You are the only real thing in my life, Ngozi, the only pure thing." Ngozi leaned her cheek into his palm. "So what now, Mafia Prince? We are hiding in the Bronx with 3 kids and $50,000 in cash. Your father has an army, you have a torn suit." "I have a phone," Do-hyun said. "And I have family, real family." He pulled his phone out of his pocket. He dialed a number he had memorized years ago. It rang once, twice, 3 times. "Hello," a deep, gravelly voice answered. "Uncle Sangwoo," Do-hyun said. There was a silence on the line, then a low whistle. "Little Dragon, I heard you made a mess in New York tonight. The news says you went crazy, kidnapped a woman, beat up some civilians." "The news is owned by my father," Do-hyun said. "I didn't kidnap anyone, I found my family." "Family? I have children, Uncle, triplets." "My father tried to kill them 3 years ago. He threatened their mother." The line went silent again, but this time the silence was dangerous. Sangwoo was the chairman's younger brother. He had been exiled to Chicago 10 years ago because he was too violent, too unpredictable. But he had a code. He never hurt women, and he never ever hurt children. "Triplets?" Sangwoo asked. "Yes, they are here with me. We are hiding." "Where?" "The old spot, the Bronx." "That place is a mousetrap, kid. He'll find you in 24 hours. "I know," Do-hyun said. "That's why I'm calling you. I need help, I need men, and I need to know who is loyal to the chairman and who is loyal to the blood." "You asking me to start a war with my own brother?" Sangwoo asked. "I'm asking you to help me kill a man who tried to murder his own grandchildren," Do-hyun corrected. A long pause. Then Sangwoo laughed. It was a loud, booming sound. "I always knew you had it in you, kid. Stay put. I'm getting on a plane. And I'm bringing the Chicago boys with me. If your father wants a war, let's give him a world war." Do-hyun hung up the phone. He looked at Ngozi. "Help is coming," he said. "Is this uncle safe?" Ngozi asked doubtfully. "He's a psychopath," Do-hyun admitted. "But he loves family. He'll protect the kids with his life." He leaned back on the sofa, closing his eyes. The adrenaline was fading, leaving him exhausted. Ngozi stood up. "I'm going to make something to eat. You need food." "There's no food here. I saw a bodega on the corner that was still open. I'll go." "No." Do-hyun's eyes snapped open. He grabbed her wrist. "You do not leave this apartment, not for food, not for anything. It's not safe. Do-hyun, the kids need milk for the morning, and you need to eat." "I'll go," Do-hyun said, trying to stand up. "You look like you just walked out of a boxing match." Ngozi pushed him back down. "You are covered in blood and bruises. If you walk into a store, they will call the cops in 2 seconds. I look normal. I'm just a tired mom in sweatpants." Do-hyun hesitated. She was right. He was too conspicuous. "Fine," he said, reaching for his gun. "Take this." "I am not taking a gun to buy milk." Ngozi stared at him like he was crazy. "This is the Bronx, Do-hyun. Walking around with a gun in your waistband is how you get shot." "Take the phone then," he said, handing her his mobile. "Speed dial 1 is me. Speed dial 2 is the police, but don't call them. Speed dial 3 is the bomb squad. Don't ask." Ngozi rolled her eyes. She took the phone. "I will be back in 10 minutes. Lock the door behind me." She grabbed her coat and slipped out into the hallway. Do-hyun locked the 3 deadbolts. He slid the chain across. Then he pressed his ear to the door, listening to her footsteps fade down the stairs. He felt a knot of anxiety in his stomach. He hated letting her out of his sight. He walked to the window. He peered through the dirty blinds. He saw Ngozi jog across the wet street to the bodega on the corner. The neon sign buzzed, open 24 hours. He watched her go inside. He watched the clerk, an old man, wave to her. Do-hyun relaxed slightly. It was okay, just 10 minutes. He went to check on the kids. They were still sleeping peacefully. Min-ho had his thumb in his mouth. Do-hyun smiled. He reached out to adjust the blanket. Then his phone buzzed. He patted his pocket. Empty. Right, he gave his phone to Ngozi. Wait, a buzzing sound. It was coming from his jacket on the floor. Do-hyun frowned. He picked up the jacket. He felt the inside pocket. There was something there, a small black device. He pulled it out. It was a pager, an old-school pager. He hadn't put it there. The pager beeped. A message scrolled across the tiny green screen. Nice apartment. 4th floor, easy shot. Do-hyun's blood turned to ice. He looked at the window. A red laser dot appeared on the chest of the sleeping boy, Min-ho. Do-hyun didn't think. He didn't scream. He threw his body across the room like a linebacker. He crashed into the mattress, covering Min-ho and Do-hyun with his own body. Thwip. A soft sound, like a finger snapping against a wet towel. Then a puff of white. The pillow right next to Min-ho's head exploded. Feathers burst into the air, floating down like snow in the dim light. A small, black hole smoked in the center of the pillowcase. Down, Do-hyun hissed. Stay down! Kyoma woke up and started to scream. The boys were crying under Do-hyun's weight. He grabbed the edge of the mattress and flipped it. He shoved the entire bed frame toward the wall, away from the window. Quiet, he begged. Please, babies, be quiet. He grabbed the heavy dresser and dragged it in front of the window. His injured hand screamed in pain, the fresh stitches tearing open, but he didn't stop. He pushed the oak wood until it blocked the glass. Another shot hit the dresser. Thud. The wood splintered. They were pinned. Pause, don't move a muscle. The laser is off, but the bullets are flying. A sniper is outside, and Do-hyun is trapped in a 4th-floor apartment with 3 crying babies. He just took a bullet for his son. Well, a pillow took it, but you get the point. I need to know, are you watching this with the lights on or off? Because it's about to get dark. Tell me in the comments if your team lights on or team lights off. And listen to me. Do-hyun is bleeding. The kids are terrified. The only thing standing between them and a bullet is a cheap wooden dresser. If you don't hit that subscribe button for Timeless K-Love, the next shot might not miss. Do you want to be the reason Min-ho doesn't grow up? No. Then subscribe, like the video, and let's get them out of here. Do-hyun crouched in the dark corner of the room, shielding the children with his body. His heart was hammering against his ribs so hard he thought it might crack them. He looked at the window. The sniper was good. He was toying with them. If he wanted them dead, he would have fired a barrage. This was a message. Beep, beep. The pager in his pocket went off again. Do-hyun pulled it out with a shaking hand. The green light glowed in the darkness. Bad daddy, coming up. Do-hyun crushed the pager in his fist. He threw it across the room. It was a tracker. They must have slipped it into his pocket during the fight in the garage. He had led them straight to his family. Stupid, he whispered to himself. Stupid, stupid. A pounding on the front door made him jump. Do-hyun opened the door. It was Ngozi. Do-hyun scrambled up. He ran to the living room, staying low, crawling on his hands and knees. He reached up and unlocked the deadbolts. Ngozi burst in, breathless, holding a plastic bag of milk and bread. She looked wild. I heard noises, she gasped. I saw a man on the roof across the street. He had a... Do-hyun grabbed her and pulled her to the floor. Get down. He kicked the door shut and locked it. They are here, Do-hyun said. He was sweating. They tracked us. Ngozi looked at the bedroom door. She heard the kids crying. She dropped the milk. The carton burst, white liquid spreading over the dusty floor. My babies, she whispered. She tried to crawl toward the room. They are okay, Do-hyun held her back. But we have to move. Now, they said they are coming up. Coming up who? The hit squad, my father's cleaners. Do-hyun checked the magazine in his Glock. 12 rounds. He checked the second gun. 15. We can't go out the front door. The stairwell will be a kill zone. The fire escape, Ngozi asked, her eyes wide. Too exposed, the sniper is watching the windows. Do-hyun looked up at the ceiling. We go up, the roof. The roof, Do-hyun, are you crazy? It's pouring rain and we have 3 toddlers. It's the only way to the next building, Do-hyun said. We jump the gap. We go down the fire escape of the building next door. It's the only blind spot. Jump the gap. Ngozi looked at him like he had lost his mind. With the children. Do you trust me? Do-hyun asked. He grabbed her face. His hands were bloody, staining her cheeks. Ngozi, do you trust me? Ngozi looked at the blood on his hands. She heard the heavy boots thumping on the stairs below them. They were coming. She nodded. Yes. Good. Get the carrier. They moved fast. Ngozi grabbed the fabric carrier she used for the babies. She strapped Min-ho to her chest and Kyoma to her back. It was heavy, 60 pounds of dead weight, but adrenaline made her strong. Do-hyun picked up Do-hyun with one arm. He held his gun with the other. They went to the kitchen. There was a maintenance hatch in the ceiling. Do-hyun climbed onto the counter. He pushed the hatch open. Heavy rain sprayed into the kitchen. Go, he said. I'll boost you. Ngozi climbed. She struggled, her feet slipping on the wet counter, the kids whining in the carrier. Do-hyun pushed her up by her feet. She hauled herself onto the tar paper roof. The wind hit her instantly, cold and violent. She reached down and grabbed Do-hyun as Do-hyun passed him up. Then Do-hyun pulled himself up. They were on the roof. The city was a blur of gray rain and black sky. "Stay low," Do-hyun yelled over the wind. He led them toward the edge of the building. The next building was about 4 feet away. Small gap, easy for a man, terrifying for a mother carrying 2 children. "Wait," Do-hyun stopped. He held up his hand. A shadow detached itself from the chimney. A man stood there. He was dressed in tactical black gear. He held a rifle. He wasn't looking at the building across the street. He was looking at them. "Going somewhere, little dragon?" the man asked. Do-hyun recognized the voice. It was Viper, his father's best assassin, the man who had taught Do-hyun how to shoot when he was 12. "Viper," Do-hyun said. He stepped in front of Ngozi. "Let us pass." Viper laughed. "You know I can't do that. The chairman wants the girl dead. He wants the bastards dead. He said you can live if you come home and apologize." "I'd rather die," Do-hyun spat. "That can be arranged." Viper raised the rifle. Do-hyun didn't hesitate. He knew Viper. He knew Viper liked to talk before he shot. He liked to feel powerful. Do-hyun dropped to his knees, sliding on the wet roof. Viper fired. The bullet whizzed over Do-hyun's head. Do-hyun fired back 3 shots. Bang, bang, bang. 2 hit Viper's chest plate. The third hit his leg. Viper grunted and fell to one knee, but he didn't drop the rifle. He swung it around. "Ngozi, run!" Do-hyun screamed. He didn't run away. He ran toward the gunman. Viper fired again. Do-hyun felt a hot sting in his shoulder. He ignored it. He tackled Viper. They rolled on the wet gravel of the roof, struggling for the rifle. Viper was strong, but Do-hyun was desperate. Do-hyun headbutted him. He smashed the pistol into Viper's face. Viper's grip loosened. Do-hyun kicked him in the chest, sending him sliding backward. Viper's boots caught the edge of the roof. He teetered for a second, arms windmilling. He looked at Do-hyun. He smiled. "War is coming, kid." Then he fell. Do-hyun didn't watch him fall. He turned around. Ngozi was standing at the edge of the gap. She was frozen. The drop between the buildings was 5 stories down into a dark alley filled with trash. "I can't," she was crying. "I can't jump with them." Do-hyun ran to her. He was bleeding from his shoulder now, too. The rain washed the blood down his expensive shirt. "You have to," he said. He looked at the roof access door behind them. It was banging. The squad from the stairs was breaking through. "Give me Do-hyun," Do-hyun said. He took the boy. He backed up 3 steps. He ran and leaped. He landed on the other roof, rolling to absorb the impact. He set the boy down behind a vent. "Jump," he yelled, holding out his arms. "I will catch you. I swear on my life I will catch you." Ngozi looked at the gap. She looked at the door bursting open on the other roof. Men with flashlights were pouring out. She closed her eyes. She thought of the laser dot on Minho's chest. She screamed and ran. She pushed off the edge. For a second, she was flying. The wind tore at her. Gravity tried to pull her down. She hit the other side hard. Her chest slammed into the gravel. Her legs dangled over the edge. She started to slip back. "Gotcha!" Do-hyun's hand grabbed her wrist. He groaned, the veins in his neck popping. He pulled. He dragged her up onto the solid ground. They lay there for a second, gasping for air, the rain pounding on them. "We made it," Ngozi sobbed. She checked the babies. They were crying, scared, but they were safe. No bullet holes, no broken bones. "Not yet." Do-hyun stood up. He pulled her up. "Down the fire escape. Go." They scrambled down the rusted iron stairs of the second building. They reached the alley. Do-hyun led them through a maze of backstreets, avoiding the main roads. He knew this neighborhood. He had spent his teenage years running these streets when he was rebelling against his father. They found a small, 24-hour laundromat. It was empty. Do-hyun kicked the back door open. They collapsed inside, smelling of wet wool and terror. Do-hyun slid down the wall. He checked his shoulder. The bullet had grazed him, a flesh wound, but he was losing blood. Ngozi unstrapped the babies. She laid them on a pile of laundry bags. She crawled over to Do-hyun. "You're shot," she said, her voice dull with shock. "I'm fine," Do-hyun lied. His face was gray. "Is the phone? Do you have the phone?" Ngozi patted her pocket. "Yes." "Check it, Uncle Sangwoo." Ngozi pulled out the phone. "There's a text from 5 minutes ago. Read it." It says, "Landed at Teterboro. En route, ETA 20 minutes. Keep your head down." Do-hyun let out a breath he had been holding for an hour. 20 minutes, we just have to survive 20 minutes. He looked at the glass front of the laundromat. It was dark. "Turn off the lights," he told Ngozi. "We wait in the dark." Ngozi flipped the switch. The laundromat plunged into shadow. The only light came from the street lamps outside. They sat in the dark, huddled together on the floor behind a row of washing machines. The triplets were finally quiet, exhausted into silence. Do-hyun, Ngozi whispered. Yeah. Why did you keep the apartment? Do-hyun closed his eyes. The pain in his shoulder was a steady throb. Because I hoped. Hoped for what? That you would come back or that I would find the courage to come find you. I paid the rent every month. I had a cleaner come once a week to dust it just in case you walked in. I wanted it to be ready. Ngozi was silent. She reached out and took his good hand. She squeezed it. I hated you, she said honestly. For 3 years, every time I couldn't pay a bill, every time the kids asked about their daddy, I hated you. I know, Do-hyun said. I deserve it. But, she continued, I never stopped loving you, that's the problem. I hated you because I loved you. Do-hyun turned his head to look at her in the dark. I never hated you, Ngozi. I was just broken. I thought you sold me out. I thought our love had a price tag. Your father is good at lies, Ngozi said bitterly. He is, but his lies are over. Do-hyun's voice hardened. When Sangwoo gets here, we are going to Chicago, and then we are going to take everything from him. A car screeched to a halt outside. Do-hyun tensed. He raised the gun. Is it them? Ngozi asked, pulling the kids closer. Do-hyun squinted through the glass. 3 black SUVs pulled up to the curb. They weren't the sleek corporate cars his father used. These were massive, armored trucks. The doors opened. A giant man stepped out. He was wearing a fur coat over a tuxedo. He had a scar running down his face and a smile that looked like it could bite through steel. Do-hyun lowered the gun. He smiled. No, he said, it's the Cavalry. Uncle Sangwoo kicked the front door of the laundromat open. Room service, he roared. Behind him, 10 men poured out of the trucks. They were armed with assault rifles. They looked like they ate nails for breakfast. Do-hyun stood up. He wobbled. Ngozi helped him. They walked out to meet the uncle. Sangwoo looked at Do-hyun. He looked at the blood. Then he looked at Ngozi and the 3 terrified children. The big man's face softened. He knelt down in front of the kids. Well, well, Sangwoo said. Look at these little dragons. He pulled a handful of lollipops from his tuxedo pocket. Who wants candy? The tension broke. Minho reached out for a red one. Sangwoo stood up and hugged Do-hyun. It was a bone-crushing hug. You look like hell, kid. I feel like it, Do-hyun said. Get in the truck, Sangwoo commanded. We have a private jet waiting. By morning, you'll be eating deep dish pizza in Chicago. And my father? Do-hyun asked. Sangwoo looked down the street. Police sirens were wailing in the distance. Your father just woke up the wrong dog, Sangwoo growled. We're going to make him regret the day he was born. The private jet hummed, a low vibration that felt like a purring cat. It was a stark difference from the cold, wet roof in the Bronx. Inside, the cabin smelled of expensive leather and antiseptic. Do-hyun sat in a wide beige chair, his shirt off. A medic, a quiet man with a scar on his neck, was stitching up his shoulder. The needle pulled the skin tight. Do-hyun didn't make a sound. He just stared across the aisle. Ngozi was there. She was curled up on a sofa, the 3 children asleep in a pile around her. They looked like puppies, tangled limbs and soft breathing. They were clean now, wiped down with warm towels. They were safe. Done, the medic said, snipping the thread. It will scar, but you'll live. Thanks, Do-hyun grunted. He stood up. The world spun for a second, blood loss, but he locked his knees and forced the dizziness away. He walked over to the sofa. He looked down at them, his family. For 3 years, he had been a ghost. He walked through boardrooms, signed contracts, and drank expensive scotch, but he wasn't really there. He was just waiting to die or to find a reason to live. Now, looking at the curly hair of the sleeping boy, Minho, he felt something wake up inside him. It wasn't just love. It was terror. He had so much to lose now. Do-hyun, Ngozi whispered. She opened her eyes. They were red and swollen. Go back to sleep, he said softly. He reached out and brushed a stray curl from her forehead. We have 2 hours until Chicago. I can't sleep, she said. She sat up carefully, not waking the kids. Every time I close my eyes, I see that laser dot on his chest. She started to shake. It wasn't the cold this time, it was the shock. Do-hyun sat down on the edge of the sofa. He put his arm around her. She was stiff at first, but then she leaned into him. She rested her head on his good shoulder. I should have told you, she whispered. 3 years ago, I should have fought harder. I shouldn't have let your father scare me. He scares grown men, Ngozi. You were 22, Do-hyun said. Don't blame yourself, blame me. I was too weak to protect you then. And now, Do-hyun looked at his bandaged hand. He looked at the gun sitting on the table next to a crystal glass of water. Now, he said, his voice dark, I am the monster he wanted me to be, and I am going to eat him alive. Pause, take a breath. The family is safe on the jet, but the trauma is just hitting them. Ngozi is seeing laser dots in her sleep. Do-hyun is turning into a monster to save them. I have to ask you, where are you right now? Are you on a bus, in your kitchen, lying in the dark? Let me know in the comments. And while you're there, rate Uncle Sang-woo's rescue 1 to 10. Was that timing perfect or what? Listen to me. Do-hyun is about to land in Chicago and start a war. He's going to need every soldier he can get. If you don't hit that subscribe button for timeless K-Love right now, you are leaving him to fight alone. Don't let the chairman win. Join the family. Subscribe. Like. Let's finish this. The jet touched down at a private airfield just outside Chicago. It was still dark, the early hours of the morning. Snow was falling here, thick, heavy flakes that covered the runway in white. Uncle Sang-woo was waiting in the first SUV. He had changed out of his tuxedo into a thick wool coat that made him look like a bear. "Welcome to Siberia," Sang-woo grinned as Do-hyun carried the sleeping kids down the stairs. The wind was biting, freezing the sweat on Do-hyun's skin. They loaded into the armored convoy. This wasn't just a car ride, it was a military operation. 2 cars in front, 2 cars behind, men with earpieces watching every shadow. "Where are we going?" Ngozi asked. She was holding Kioma, who was awake now and looking at the snow with wide, confused eyes. The little girl had never seen snow like this. "To the fortress," Sang-woo said from the front seat. "My humble abode." The humble abode turned out to be a massive stone estate on the edge of Lake Michigan. It looked less like a house and more like a medieval castle dropped into the modern world. High walls, iron gates, and security cameras every 10 feet. The gates opened. The convoy rolled up the long driveway. "It's big," Ngozi said. "It's safe," Do-hyun corrected. "Uncle Sang-woo is paranoid, that's why he's still alive." They were ushered inside. The house was warm, smelling of wood smoke and roasting meat. A staff of older Korean women bustled out, taking the children from their arms, cooing over them, wrapping them in warm blankets. "They will be fed and put to bed in the nursery," Sang-woo said. "My staff has been with me for 20 years. They don't talk, they don't snitch. The kids are safe." Ngozi hesitated. She didn't want to let them go. "Go with them," Do-hyun told her. "Get them settled, sleep. I have business to discuss with Uncle." Ngozi looked at him. She saw the shift in his eyes. The softness he had shown on the plane was gone. The Mafia Heir mask was back on. "Don't do anything stupid," she warned him. "I'm done being stupid," Do-hyun said. He watched her walk up the grand staircase, holding the banister for support. Once she was gone, he turned to Sang-woo. "Whiskey," Do-hyun said. "Study," Sang-woo replied. They walked into a library with dark wood panels and a fire roaring in the hearth. Sang-woo poured 2 heavy glasses of amber liquid. He handed one to Do-hyun. "To family," Sang-woo said. "To war," Do-hyun clinked the glass and downed it in one swallow. The burn felt good, it woke him up. "So," Sang-woo sat behind his massive desk. He lit a cigar. "Your father has gone off the deep end, shooting at kids, that's against the code. He doesn't care about the code anymore. He only cares about the legacy, and he thinks mixed-blood children are a stain on that legacy." "Old fool," Sang-woo shook his head. "He doesn't realize that fresh blood makes the line stronger. Look at those kids, they're survivors already." "I need your men, Uncle, I need resources." "You have them," Sang-woo waved his hand. "But you need more than guns, kid. Your father owns the judges in New York, he owns the ports. If you attack him head-on, he will crush you with the law before you even fire a shot." "I know," Do-hyun walked to the window. He looked out at the frozen lake. It was black and endless. "That's why I'm not going to attack him with guns, not yet." "Oh," Sang-woo raised an eyebrow. "What's the plan?" "We hid his wallet." Do-hyun turned around. His eyes were cold. "I know where he keeps his shadow accounts, the money from the smuggling rings, the bribes, I know the passwords." "You do?" "I was his heir, remember? I ran the books for 5 years. I have a photographic memory." Do-hyun tapped his temple. "He thinks I was just a dutiful son signing checks. He didn't know I was memorizing every routing number, every Cayman Island account." Sang-woo laughed, a deep belly laugh. "You sly dog, you were planning this." "I was planning to take over when he died," Do-hyun admitted. "But now, I'm going to drain him dry while he's still alive. I'm going to take every cent. When he can't pay his soldiers, they will turn on him. When he can't bribe the judges, they will issue warrants. And then..." Do-hyun crushed the empty crystal glass in his hand again. No, he stopped himself. He set the glass down gently. He was learning control. "And then I will walk into his office and ask him if it was worth it." Sang-woo grinned. "I like it. It's cruel, it's smart, but there is a problem." "What?" "To access those accounts, you need the physical key, the encrypted drive. It's in the main server room at the Beak Tower in Manhattan. You can't hack it remotely." Do-hyun froze. The server room. Top floor, penthouse level, right under his nose. Do-hyun cursed. "He'll have the place locked down like a fortress." Exactly, Sang-woo puffed on his cigar. So how do you plan to get back into New York, into the most guarded building in the city, without getting shot? Do-hyun stared at the fire. The flames danced, orange and yellow. I don't need to break in, Do-hyun said slowly. A plan was forming, a crazy, desperate plan. I still have a key. They would have changed the locks, kid. Not the physical locks, Do-hyun said. The social ones. There's a gala next week. The annual Beak Foundation charity ball. Everyone will be there. Politicians, celebrities, rivals. So, my father cares about face more than anything. He won't shoot me in front of the mayor. He won't kill me in front of the cameras. Do-hyun smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. I'm going to walk right in the front door with a tuxedo and a date. A date? Sang-woo looked confused. You mean Ngozi? No, Do-hyun shook his head. It's too dangerous for her. I need a distraction. I need chaos. I have just the thing for chaos, Sang-woo stood up. He walked to a bookshelf and pulled a thick file. I have a contact, a freelancer. She hates your father as much as you do. She used to work for him, actually, until he tried to have her killed. Who? Her name is Viper, Sang-woo said. Viper is a man. I just shot him on a roof in the Bronx, Do-hyun said. No, that was Viper, the call sign. The title. Your father gives the name Viper to his top assassin, the previous Viper. She is the one I'm talking about, the one who retired or was forced to retire. Sang-woo tossed the file on the desk. Her real name is Ae-cha, and she is the best thief in the world. Do-hyun opened the file. A photo of a woman with sharp eyes and a scar through her eyebrows stared back at him. Get her, Do-hyun said. Do-hyun didn't sleep that night. He sat in the chair next to the bed where Ngozi and the triplets lay. The room was dark, lit only by a nightlight shaped like a star. Ngozi was sleeping deeply, finally. The exhaustion had claimed her. Her arm was thrown over Min-ho, protective even in her dreams. Do-hyun watched them. He memorized the rise and fall of their chests. He felt a vibration in his pocket. It wasn't the burner phone. It was Ngozi's old phone, which he had slipped into his pocket. He pulled it out. A text message. Unknown number. He opened it. I know you are in Chicago. I know about the lake house. Send the girl and the bastards out and I will let you live. Refuse and I will burn the whole city down. It was his father. Do-hyun typed a reply. His thumbs moved fast. Come and try, old man. I'll leave the gate open. He hit send. Then he blocked the number. He leaned back in the chair. He looked at the gun in his lap. Let's dance, he whispered into the dark. The next morning, the house was alive with noise. No. Mine. Do-hyun woke up to a scream. He jerked awake, hand going for the gun, but it wasn't an assassin. It was Do-hyun. He was tugging on a toy truck that Uncle Sang-woo was holding. You have to say please, little warrior, Sang-woo was laughing, holding the truck out of reach. Pee-wees, Do-hyun yelled. Sang-woo handed it over. Good boy. Do-hyun rubbed his face. He felt stiff. He had slept in the chair. He looked over at the bed. It was empty. Panic spiked in his chest. Ngozi. In the kitchen, Sang-woo said, pointing with his cigar. She is teaching my chef how to make. What is it called? Jollof rice? My kitchen smells amazing, spicy. Do-hyun stood up. He walked down the hall to the massive kitchen. He stopped in the doorway. Ngozi was there. She was wearing a silk robe that belonged to the guest suite. She was laughing. She was stirring a huge pot on the stove while Sang-woo's head chef, a stern-faced woman named Mrs. Kim, was watching intently, tasting a spoon. More time, Ngozi was saying. And do you have habanero, the red pepper? We have gochugaru, Mrs. Kim suggested. It will work, Ngozi smiled. Do-hyun leaned against the doorframe. For a second, he imagined this was his life, a normal life, cooking, kids playing, no guns, no death threats. Ngozi looked up and saw him. Her smile faltered for a second, then returned, softer this time. Good morning, she said. Morning, Do-hyun walked over. He kissed her forehead. She smelled like spices and sleep. You look better. I slept, she said, and I realized something. What? That we are alive, she said fiercely. And I am not going to spend whatever time we have left being afraid. I am going to cook. I am going to feed my children, and I am going to trust you. Do-hyun felt a weight lift off his chest. I have a plan, Ngozi, to end this. Does it involve you getting shot again? She asked, pointing to his bandaged shoulder with a wooden spoon. Hopefully not, but it involves going back to New York. Ngozi froze. Why? To steal the money, all of it. If I take his money, he loses his power. Then we can be free, truly free. And if you get caught, I won't. Do-hyun, she put the spoon down. She took his face in her hands. If you don't come back, if you leave me alone with them again. I will come back, Do-hyun promised. I have 3 reasons to come back now, 4. He looked into her eyes. 4 reasons. The kitchen door swung open. A woman walked in. She was wearing black leather pants and a black tank top. She had short, spiky hair and a scar through her eyebrow. She moved like a cat, silent, dangerous. Mrs. Kim gasped and dropped a ladle. The woman ignored everyone. She walked straight to the fridge, opened it, and took out a carton of milk. She drank from the carton. She wiped her mouth and looked at Do-hyun. "So," the woman said. Her voice was scratchy. "The little dragon who wants to rob the chairman." "You must be Aicha," Do-hyun said. "The thief." "I prefer asset relocation specialist," she smirked. She looked at Ngozi. She looked at the pot of stew. "That smells good. Can I have a bowl?" Ngozi blinked, confused. Sure." Aicha hopped up onto the counter, swinging her legs. "Okay, boss man, I read the file Sangwoo sent me. The Beak Tower server room, it's a suicide mission." "I know," Do-hyun said. "Good," Aicha grinned. She pulled a knife out of her boot and started cleaning her fingernails with it. "I love suicide missions. When do we leave?" "Tomorrow," Do-hyun said. "We have a party to crash."